Hey, welcome to the 6th week of Kino's Jump Journeys. We got a new series this week called, Nura, Rise of the Yokai Clan. Pretty cool stuff there. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But let's start off the day with our favorite series, Tokyo Demon Bride Story, Chapter 5. Out of 5 out of 10. Pretty inoffensive chapter this week. They go on a mission and beat a sumo demon guy. I suppose jokes were made and some sort of emotional scene at the end. Cool. Following that, we have Elusive Samurai Chapter 80, 6 out of 10. The 3 battles are all raging on. That one kid is putting up a fight against that one guy. The old guy is standing his ground to the other guy. And the girl beat the pervy guy who then killed himself. It's all kind of hard to follow, but whatever, I guess it's cool. Next up, we have Witch Watch Chapter 79 as a 6 out of 10. Almost a return to form this week. We had some cool action with Khan, and I guess we needed to be reminded that these characters can and do fight. And we even get a little bit more lore about Khan and Moy, though it is buried in an unfunny chapter about reanimating a statue of a TV show character they like. Hopefully this means we'll be getting more plot and story stuff soon, but who knows? Up next we have Super Smartphone Chapter 21 at an upper 6 out of 10. And guys, this thing is so definitely cancelled. And it is so definitely rushing to a conclusion to the point it really doesn't feel worth talking about. Zunichiro really hated Q's brother specifically. For some reason, he's very upset about finding out Q is the other guy. Who really cares why? I know I don't. And now he put a hit on Q, so now a bunch of people are going after him with flaming pitchforks and whatnot. Cool, I guess. And now we have Roboco Chapter 107 at an upper 6 out of 10. Roboco trains to beat a meteor. She is able to do it, but does not want to, due to this feeling like a final chapter. Though after some assurance from the that one manga editor guy who I hate, he's like, nah, this is not the final chapter because the drafts are in for next week, and Roboco is in fact in the magazine. And that's cool. Cool stuff there. This one wasn't really all that bad. It was just kind of boring, and I didn't really care about it. And I'm sure this whole meteor thing, aside from, I'm sure it was like a One Punch Man type deal, but the cover page seemed like it was referencing another series. I just don't know what it was, but whatever. Now we have Ginka and Gluna Chapter 4 at a 7 out of 10. That was an alright chapter. Nothing crazy going on here. We learn about this mission to find the remains of this guy's dad in the tunnels. Some magic shenaniganery is causing trouble for the miners and whatnot, causing a mass death. And so our team of 3 is called to action. While down there, we meet some other girl who seems cool, competitive, but also seeming like she believes in hard work, and that's nice. She isn't entirely a bad person. She just wants people to actually work for what's going on and has some higher purpose. We fight some crabs, and the new girl, after seeing Ginka destroy all the crabs, she finally starts looking at Ginka and Luna with some respect. Again, nothing too crazy, but I still had a good time, and I'm glad that we're not mass skipping stuff. Besides, skipping the whole fight, which is annoying. But maybe it'll outgrow that. I have a feeling that Ginka and Luna is afraid to do action, it's not confident in its ability to choreograph fights, but hopefully that is something it grows out of going forward. Following that is Mashle Chapter 126 at a 7 out of 10. A pretty alright chapter. We're back on Lemon, and also the small guy and Mashle's unconscious body. Lemon has to fend off some creepy chain guy with a dog, and she definitely stands no chance even after taming his Cerberus and promptly renaming them after, before they die and all that, which is unfortunate. I think they die. Do they die? He like, stabs them with, like, spike chains or whatever. And it's like, haha, you thought you could turn my thing against me, but what kind of dog owner couldn't kill his own dog? Very good point. But then some guy that we met before shows up. Some creepy guy who doesn't open his eyes and I think was really into treats and all that. One of our many fun characters. I don't remember him, but I'm sure he is cool, and we'll get to see that fight next week. And gosh, I really do hope that Mashle wakes up soon. Because, if I'm being honest, this series is not too fun without Mashle around. I still enjoy it, but I do feel his absence, And now we're at Blue Box, Chapter 71, at an upper 7 out of 10. This week we go to the training camp. All of our main cast and pretty much any important character is there. And as a consequence, a lot of fun happens. We see Blue Box kind of tackle the bathhouse trope, but doesn't lean too much into it, as is Blue Box fashion. At the end of the chapter, all the sports kids play a card game that is basically truth or dare, and we end the chapter with Taiki needing to confess to the one he loves. Also, he internally begs Chinatsu to talk like a cat, which is something we're not going to talk about today. I highly doubt anything's going to come of this, as it seems very much like how Blue Box likes to set up a trope, only to then twist it. But the chapter treats it like Taiki is about to choose between Hina and Chinatsu, so maybe he'll, at the very least, make an internal choice, affecting the story going forward. That aside, it was a pretty fun chapter. And now we have Aliens Area, Chapter 17, and an upper 7 out of 10. I've noticed that a lot of confrontations are about to happen in a bunch of Jump series recently. Deku just barely started to fight Shiggy, Juiz is about to deck God, Sakamoto is about to fight the movie guy, and Foreign Affairs 5 is beginning their raid. Cool stuff. People are talking about how this is seeming like some final battle war type deal, but it's described as a roundup of some agents in one of A3's bases. This isn't even their main location, so it feels pretty small potatoes to me. We see a demonstration of some of our team's abilities, and we learn the gist of how things should, and won't, shake out. Our two boys find a weird nervous guy who killed the last batch of guys, and stole their ears, I guess, keeping them on a string, which I guess is his comfort item. That's a little weird, but I like weird. He seems hella unstable, which should be fun. I'm sure at some point later we'll see him have like some sort of breakdown. Also, he seems like the kind of guy who's only a part of this team because he was either like forced into it or, he feels some sort of comfort here. So as soon as the good guys do their whole good guy thing, it's possible he might, join the main cast, or at the very least join the side cast. I could see that happening, as long as we don't get, canceled. Finally, that one assassin guy shows up, the one who tried to kill the princess, and it seems like we brought him in as a secret weapon of sorts. So we'll get to see how strong he is when not fighting a main character. Next week will probably be a cool battle and some more exposition on A3, so I look forward to it. Now we have Black Clover, Chapter 339, at a lower 8 out of 10. All things considered, I liked this chapter. We got to see Asta learn a new application of his powers, I guess using Lieb's power to do a technique called Zetin, which is usually done with Ki, though I'm still a bit lost. Someone who does understand, please explain it to me. We also get to see how worried and anxious Asta is, giving us a good emotional moment with him that actually feels real. Helped in no smart by Top of Art. Compelling stuff. Following that, we have Akane Banashi, Chapter 32, at a lower 8 out of 10. So as it turns out, we are in fact going through with the whole 8 months of time skip, so that's interesting. Now Akane is going to train at a theater to be a Zenza. I think they just kind of play the drums at shows or something. There she meets that one funny guy from the contest, so she'll be spending more time with him this arc. I'm definitely excited to see more from him, and maybe in arcs in the future we will see the other side characters who are in that arc show up, because it seems like the kind of, series that will give each minor character its little moment after introducing them, We also meet some senior guy who seems to already not like Akane, seemingly because of all the attention she got, 8 months ago. And she doesn't like him for being a jerk. So now we got a lot of pieces on the board. I don't know what exactly this arc will bring, but Akane Banashi can have a grass-growing arc and I'll be on board, so I'm sure it'll be fine. Up next, we have High School Family, Chapter 104 at a lower 7 or a lower 8 out of 10. Imagine High School Family getting a 7, that'd be ridiculous. This week, we follow up with both Haruka and Kotaro. Shizuku seems pretty down, but now she's settling back into shogi. She learns about some sort of prodigy kid who seems really cocky and wants to play Haruka, and the chapter ends with her going off to face him. Though I feel like she will beat him handily, and he'll probably start either crushing on her or hating her, depending. These characters can always go either way. It's also possible that he'll both crush on her and hate her, which is my personal favorite version of the trope, because that's always fun. Back with Kotaro, he's feeling like he's not fit for the job, having nothing to do but delegate work to his more competent friends. Though they assure him, as the previous president did, that becoming president won't change him overnight. Hopefully, as the story goes on, Kotaro will slowly grow to be more confident and skilled, and I look forward to seeing that change. Now we have PPPPPP Chapter 51 at an 8 out of 10. This chapter opens with Sadame introducing us to his backstory, all like, "Wow, what a tricky situation I'm in. Bet you're all wondering how I got myself into this mess." Only to give us his backstory. As a child, he was a sort of prodigy, being able to study well, but he was abused by his stuck-up dad and got himself kicked out. Later, meeting Maloli in some music store, he decides to try to play like her because of how entrancing and confusing her style was, which got him recognized by a lady who housed him with the catch that he must learn to copy the style of the Otogami sextuplets, which is why he is the way he is today. Back in the present, Sorachika seems upset by hearing about Lucky's funeral garb. Lucky then goes to tell Fanta that he doesn't want to fight, and that music is supposed to make them happy, and we end the chapter. Next week, Sadame will play, and we'll hear what Fanta has to say, though I do not think it's going to go well. And now we have Jujutsu Kaisen, Chapter 199, at an 8 out of 10. Very interesting stuff this week. We wrap things up with Maki and Kamo, then we move on to the gang, being Yuji, Megumi, Funnyman, and Angel. Yuji and Funnyman had saved Megumi along with the Angel, another chillin' in a hotel, getting a plan together. There's a lot going on here, a lot I'm sure is going over my head, but I understand most of it, I think. Angel has the ability to negate curse energy, meaning she can negate the barrier, as well as negate Gojo's seal, which is a very big deal, as it has been insert days here since he's been sealed. The only issue being that Angel and whoever is living in her body seem to not like Yuji's upstairs neighbor, and probably want him dead, which poses an issue seeing as how we don't want Yuji to die. How the gang will get out of this one, I have no clue, but I'm sure as things come along it'll all begin to make sense. That being said, I'm glad we're back at the plot. Following that, we have Mission, the Yozakura Family, Chapter 148 at an 8 out of 10. What a great chapter, with plenty of build-up to prepare us for next week. we find our team infiltrating the ship, and as they're running, we see a flashback with Kyoichiro and his dad. They're sparring, though Momo is being pretty rough on him, and Kyoichiro tells his mom on him, all in fun fashion. Now that I think about it, the way that Kyoichiro acts towards Mutsumi is a lot like how Momo acts towards his family. Just going to show just how much his father had influenced him, as from what it seems like, they seem to be the closest among the family, which is why I imagine Kyoichiro decided that he wants to face off his dad alone. You know, I'm sure he has some personal baggage going on there. Still in the flashback, Momo talks about how Kyoichiro needs to learn to protect the family one day, and seems to already know that he will one day betray them. Everyone else finds Shinzo and Futaba as they prepare to throw down. Taiyo decides that he needs to take on Shinzo so he can stop him from hurting anyone else, because it'll make him feel bad later, wanting to protect his feelings, which is really cool, you know. Even in this situation where it's life or death, and his life is on the line, he is still worried about how Shinzo is going to be feeling in the morning after his, fight hangover. Though Shinzo doesn't even seem like he wants to fight right now, you know? He seems pretty reluctant, like he actively does not want to be doing this right now, and he's already, hurting. And this again calls into question just how mind-controlled they are. Keigo then jumps in to help Taiyo because, let's be honest, Taiyo would not be able to take care of Shinzo by himself, and the other three take on Futaba, ending the chapter. Next week should be a thrill. And earlier, in Aliens area, when I mentioned confrontations happening, this one also qualifies. I just, forgot to mention it. And now we have in fourth place. I mean, I know it doesn't matter. But whatever. In fourth place, we have My Hero Academia, chapter 368, at an 8 out of 10. Right out of the gate, I'm not going to talk about the color page. It's weird and gross, and definitely questionable to some degree, but I have nothing to add beyond that. This chapter starts the real conflict, though we only have a small burst of action before the chapter ends. At the start, we get some talk about whether or not Shigaraki is still in there, and some talk about how he totally is not still in there, followed by some talk about how he totally is still in there. The big feature of this chapter is the reveal of the second's quirk, called Gear Shift, I think. I think it basically makes him, go faster? Literally, please, one of you listening, explain it to me, because it sounds a lot like Fajin to me, with extra steps, and I think he has to, actually move his hand like a gear shift. And I don't know, I feel like with a quirk, being genetic, it's very weird that it would have built into it a feature much like that in a mechanical car. But maybe I'm just missing something. So now Deku can go 120% full power for 5 minutes, and now we have a hard time limit for how long Deku has to finish Shigaraki off. So I'm sure it'll be over in about 10 episodes or so. The action was neat, and now we can say for sure that the second isn't Bakugo, so at least that crisis is averted. In third place, first of our top 3, we have the newcomer this week, I think possibly replacing Rui Dragon. Maybe, I think I heard that was moving to Shonen Plus, although maybe it's being a stand-in for Hunter x Hunter as well. Really, I have no idea. I haven't heard much about the specifics behind it. But it's Nura, Rise of the Yokai Clan, Chapter 1, breaking off with an upper 8 out of 10, actually. And wow, right out of the gate, we have some good stuff to talk about. We're introduced to this kid who is the grandson of a once great yokai named Rikuo. He is, and his name is Rikuo, not the yokai. The yokai is like Nurahyun or something. Some weird, Japanese name. He's a grade schooler who has dreamed of taking over his grandfather's role as leader of the Nura Syndicate, a large group of yokai under his command. The yokai of the house seem kind to him, basically serving him as a master. One day at school, this one kid who is taller than everyone else and also looks like he's 20 is doing a class presentation on yokai, and Rikuo finds out that yokai, and his grandfather in turn, are actually not so great. This is then made worse when he's in a meeting with all the yokai, and hears of all the bad things they do, shattering his idea of what yokai are. Disheartened, he casts them off and runs away. After avoiding going to school out of shame, he finds out his bus was crushed by a rock, sent by some yokai who wanted to kill Rikuo, thinking he was on the bus, and it traps his classmates under rubble in a cave. Upon learning this, in rage, he commands the yokai to help him save them. At first they refuse, but when he suddenly awakens to his powers and transforms, he convinces everyone to come help him. When he finds them, he thrashes the yokai and tells them that if you need to kill kids to feel strong, you're a loser, which, I have to say, sounds pretty logical. With the day saved, he passes out from exhaustion and his powers deactivate. After a time skip a few years in the future, we see that he hasn't used his powers since, and seems to be just a regular kid. But I'm sure something will happen to kickstart the story in earnest. It seems like it was like more of a backstory, like prequel chapter, explaining what'll be happening next chapter. So that should be a fun time. As far as first chapters go, I think this does a pretty good job. We have our characters, our powers, and a good art style. The art style does seem a little dated, reminding me of how Neru had an older art style, but all things considered, I think it works pretty well, and I'm excited to see where things go. In second place, we have Sakamoto Days, chapter 89, at an upper 8 out of 10. And dang, Sakamoto Days, really bringing your A-game this week, huh? Most of the chapter consists of Satada-sensei and Film Boy fighting. At first it seems like she easily has the upper hand, but through the power of being unable to make mistakes in filming, he manages to keep up. We see Club Jam, the most JoJo character in the series, and I guess he wants to be hurt real bad, and that's really all we see of him so far. He has some kind of clapping mind control ability. Not really sure how that works. While protecting the kids, Movie Man manages to stab Satada-sensei, coincidentally just as Sakamoto is passing by, so next week I can only imagine we're going to see the two of them square up. The next few chapters are likely going to be mostly fights, but with how great Sakamoto Days is, that's really only a good thing. And finally, in first place, we have Undead Unluck chapter 129 at a 9 out of 10. And bro, this chapter was literally incredible. Victor comes out one last time because he wants to be with Juiz when she finally dies, his one last wish, promising to never come out again after his dream is achieved. Juiz then pulls out Aegis once they are closer to God and get around all the rocks and whatnot, which is one of the 3 spirit weapons created for the purpose of killing God, which Luna has provided them. Although it's like a whole, you need to get so many points to get the weapons, which is cool. Victor then gives her the sword Vengeance, which apparently allows you to imbue it with your hatred to give it power. Juiz says she will imbue her sword with 455 billion years of her rage through all these loops towards God. If that isn't the most raw, badass lines of all time, I truly do not know what is. Of course, this won't win us the day, but hopefully it will give us the time needed to get through the loop so we can then go to kill God. And as a side note, do we know what the third weapon is? And whether or not we're going to see it or actually need it to kill God? And do we already have it? From how Luna was talking, in all these 99 loops, it seems like this is the first time they ever had 2 of the weapons at the same time. And I guess I'm just a little confused because, so she says that, she's imbuing the sword with 455 billion years of hatred, which is all well and good. But there's only been 99 loops, and I know that, each loop, Andy/Victor has to wait for, many billions of years to be able to, be back at the present. But she doesn't go through all that time, because she is a normal human who can die of old age, right? So, and if there's only been 99 loops, is she really feeling all that 455 billion years? Or is she enacting Victor's vengeance along with hers? I'm not too sure, but again, it is Undead Unluck, and it is just, always cool regardless, and the specific logic and reasoning isn't all that important to me. But yeah, really good week, really good chapters, and in general, I'm really looking forward to what's going forward. This new series, Nura, seems fun. I'm looking forward to Super Smartphone seeming like it's going to be canceled soon. And then we'll get another new series, which is only exciting. And unfortunately to me, it does also seem like Aliens area might be canceled. But I'm still holding out hope that it will be fine. So let's look forward to all the fun stuff we can talk about next week. And I hope you all have a good night.